Hello and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stuart Booth.
And I'm Jack Luffman.
On today's show, we will be talking football. Very exciting weekend of action.
Yeah. How do you reckon last weekend though?
Yeah, it was a decent first weekend, but we'll go into that in a bit more detail. And also we're going to talk about some random transfers that might be happening in the next.
I don't know. I can't imagine what we're going to talk about.
24, maybe 48 hours.
You Spurs. I've got a bit of inside knowledge on that actually as well.
Oh, I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing it. Cricket, ODI series, women's internationals. We're going to have a little chat about that. Interesting games last night.
That's why I'm looking a bit bleary-eyed, to be fair.
Well,
it's a bit knackered.
We could talk about our phone call last night as well. Women's Super League, raising the bar, so we're going to have a little chat about that bit. Also update you with our fantasy football, but we're going to start with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. I don't actually know what he's going to talk about. He just going to put it on there. So
yeah, so
I've got an idea, but
earlier in the week he's literally wore a t-shirt. After I think it was after the.
Was it after the Grand Prix, during the Grand Prix weekend?
It was all around the Grand Prix weekend. Basically, a political statement saying that this person, police should be arrested for what they've done with regards to a certain incident. But we've stayed away from politics, so we're not going to delve too much into that. But it made me wonder. I think he had a very valid point with the point t-shirt that he did wear, but he's now going to get in trouble for wearing this t-shirt, which I kind of disagree with.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, and I kind of guess what you're going to talk about, the t-shirt, the political statement, and I think the FIA, I'm not quite sure whether he's going to get in trouble or whether they've done it, but I know he was up before their board or whatever. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm with you, sportsmen and men and women get a bad rep. On the whole, they get a bad rep for particularly ones who are good and are earning lots of money, and we can talk about till the cows come home in terms of, and some of the money that some of these sportsmen, Lewis Hamilton, particularly the pro football, it's obscene. Let's be honest, it's obscene. So they get a bad rep, but then when they try and do, if you like, the right thing, they still get a bad rep.
Yeah,
and I don't understand it.
I got a few years ago when they started finding players because obviously there was a chance for endorsement, wasn't there? When they lifted the tops off of this shirt and signalling things, and the statements came out. Certain statements, like just random ones, I get that. No particular. But Lewis Hamilton's literally overalls on, got it tied around his waist, stuck his t-shirt on, and now he's getting a bad rep for it. But he's literally he sounds so contradictory. One hand we're supporting Black Lives Matter by doing this whistle and hands up in the air and fists up, and we take a knee, which is absolutely fantastic. But as soon as a sports person supports it by wearing a t-shirt, which wasn't any money-making scheme by any stretch of the imagination, is that castrated by the governing body?
Yeah, and a personal statement. I just wonder whether it's Lewis Hamilton, because maybe he's a bit of a Marmite character, isn't he? People either love him or hate him, and he should never go down as a legend of sport because he's got the best cars. So I just wonder whether is it him? For example, if somebody else on the grid, not Mark Webber, the other Aussie, he's gone on.
You're going to be like Nigel Mansell in a minute.
Nigel Mansell, Nelson PK. The other, who's the well-liked Aussie? Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah. What if he did it? Would he have been, do you reckon he'd have got as much stick?
I'm not a big fan of Lewis Hamilton by any stretch of the imagination. No, I'm not. No. But I also think, in fairness, he's supporting something that's worthwhile.
Exactly, and I'll take your point about it, because last night, just on the cricket, we'll move into actually the cricket a bit later, but the commentators had to give their moments of the summer, because obviously it's all been in lockdown and things like that, and I was actually sat next to Michelle, the wife, and I said, you know what, my moment of the summer was just before the first ball of the first test match, completely unexpected. They had a minute's silence for the NHS workers and the other people who died through COVID, and then just before the first ball was bowled, they all took a knee.
Yeah.
Everyone, and it was because I wasn't expecting it. We'd seen it all at the return of football, and I wasn't expecting it. And throughout all the cricket stuff, and obviously our cricket geek, there was nothing to say that they were going to do it. And it was the most poignant moment, and rightly so. And they did continue to do it. And like you say, he's got a bit of grief for it. But maybe other people disagree. I just pose a question as to whether it's more like Lewis Hamilton himself rather than what he was doing, but. Who knows?
Right, we'll leave Lewis Hamilton political statements there. Interesting weekend for the football. I'm going to start with the Liverpool Leeds game because I think that's going to be probably probably a really interesting game to analyse and have a look at. I've noticed Liverpool's new system. It seems to be back for real high line, really pushing up really well. Well, I say well, but it wasn't well the other night. Is they push up so high that what they're saying to teams is play it in behind us, and we'll cover.
Yeah.
But yet they can't. So the first goal comes from a diag from what's that English international lad called
that you called out.
Yeah, he does a great diag.
Yeah.
Dallas gets on the end of it. Trent doesn't cover himself in glory. Gomez doesn't cover himself in glory, and Alisson potentially could have done better. Second goal,
fair finish, mine.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, he's done well, but I think he should have been 3 opportunities to stop.
Yeah, definitely.
Trent, Gomez, and Alisson.
Yeah.
Then the next one, another over the top ball. Van Dijk looks in charge. Decides just dead casually to flick it to Robinson, but he's got a man up his jacksie, and the only way Bamford was going to score because he'd already fluffed that great opportunity. And then the other one was another mistake. So Matilda's been giving it the big and going, oh, they're going to finish top 6, blah blah blah. But in retrospect, Leeds still conceded 4, and Liverpool potentially gave them all 3.
Yeah, I know. You're dead right, because I've got something to say about that, and I've been waiting for this, haven't I?
Oh,
yeah, Liverpool weren't at their best,
No.
but they still won. They've still got 3 points. And what I've got now, I'm not. It was an exciting game, and Leeds clearly have some ability, and they've got a way to play. And Bielsa's clearly got the knowledge, and he's a decent manager. I wonder about his temperament. If all of a sudden they lose the first 6, what will happen? But what my point was, and I saw it, I watched it on beIN Sports here, and Gray and Keys were all over Leeds. I've watched comments from Sky Sports, Souness, Carragher, Neville, all over them. I read it, oh, they're brilliant, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to put it into context. The first game of last season, Norwich went and played exactly the same way, and they were like, oh, they were a good side, it was nice to see, but they can't play like that away from home in the Premier League and they go down. Proven right.
Yeah.
So you tell me what the difference is with Leeds, who, by the way, have got Patrick Bamford up front.
Yeah.
So don't be telling me that they're going to finish top 6.
I think the issue is, as a Leeds team on that night, you've just gone to the Champions and you're just going, no, we've got nothing to lose. Go for it. That'll be. I wonder if they go with the same emphasis and the same attacking guy when they're playing teams like Brighton and West Ham, and where they have to go up to Newcastle. It'll be interesting. I'm going to watch them with a close eye, but I generally don't think that one game is going to. We've seen everything from Leeds, because I think they've just literally gone, you know what, we're going to lose this game. Let's go out and have a pop.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it, but any Leeds fans are going to go, oh, look. I'm not saying they're going to go down. I'm not saying that. I just think we need to put it into a bit of context. And they've conceded 4 goals, 4 fairly ordinary goals. Old cock at the back. Well, not a good debut in the Premier League, I would say.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. Just frustrated me a little bit that it just proves about a narrative around the media create narratives around everything, and the narrative obviously around Leeds United and Bielsa is this real positive one, which I'm not disagreeing with, but put it into context, fellas. They still conceded 4 goals.
Oh, definitely.
They've got Patrick Bamford up front. Don't tell me they're going to finish top 6. If they finish top 6, Matthew Aldred will go out, we'll go to the Irish Village, we'll drink that black stuff, and I'll pay for it all day.
Wow, there's an opportunity. Other standout results for you? I thought Newcastle away at West Ham was a good result. I wasn't sure what type of West Ham team, and I still don't think that they're quite sorted with the style of play they want to impose on people. So that's an interesting time to keep an eye on, because if you talk about Leeds losing the first 6, what happens the same at West Ham?
But West Ham seem to be treading water back. They've certainly not moved forward since Moyes was there the first time, and since they got rid of Zola all those years ago. It's a strange club, and I see the owners have said categorically they're not selling. Yeah. So interested. I mean, come on, I know what you will have a pop at me next, so come on, let's take it.
No, we're not going there that early. You are kidding me. I'm going to wait for you to suffer a little bit. I tell you what is interesting is that Liverpool have got their second game, and Liverpool could be 6 points ahead of City before City even kick a ball, which I found very, very strange. And City haven't even got an easy game, have they? They are away.
They're Burnley.
No, it's not Burnley. They've got a tricky-ish tie. Wolves. City against Wolves.
He looked good, by the way.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, Jimenez looks like he started on fire, but
and that was their first game of the season, wasn't it? Did you see that?
Yeah.
They had no well, they've had the longest season in history, but that's interesting actually. Liverpool 6 points behind. They always say that the points on the board is better than.
Oh, definitely. It's that psychological aspect, isn't it, that you then start thinking about. Wow, suddenly we're 6 points behind, and then if they lose to Wolves, 6 points behind with only one game in hand,
Yeah.
so. If the fixtures work out right the other way around, they could be 9 points behind before they play the next game.
Yeah. Henry, you'd be disappointed if I didn't mention Arsenal. You'd be on to us all week. Now look, I don't know what Stu's going to say, we watched it. What I'm going to say first of all is you go away from him, you win 3 and you feel fair play. Aubameyang, what a finish. What a finish.
Yeah, great finish.
Look good going forward, decent. The centre half scores, looks okay. Gabriel. But Fulham were very poor. But you compare that to Leeds, fair play, there's no comparison for me.
No.
Leeds are clearly the better side.
Yeah, Fulham were just a non-entity. Fulham game was a bit like the West Brom game. They didn't really offer anything as an attacking force, so you start wondering where they're going to get goals from. And they've got their leading goal scorer sits on the bench till 60 minutes?
Yeah.
And then they bring him on. He was Championship's leading goal scorer and he starts on the bench. Then he plays in the Cup last night and scores.
Bizarre.
So you're a little bit like...
And I just think that both with West Brom and Fulham, to be fair, I think if they'd set up a bit differently and had a bit more of a positive mindset, there were games that they could have got something out of. Arsenal are on, it's not as if they've won the FA Cup recently and they won the Charity Shield, but it's not like they're flying in the Premier League, got loads of confidence. And Leicester much the same yet, like you said, they're non-entities and 2 good away wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, Leicester game was nothing and then suddenly it was 3-0. It was a nothing game. Right, so we'll talk about it. Palace Southampton was a strange one because Southampton started well.
Yeah.
And then Zaha scores that good goal.
Decent,
but we'll go on to the one that we really want to talk about is Brighton versus Chelsea. Reece James's goal.
Strike, just thinking tonight.
Hit.
Yeah, I've said to you before, we've got a plethora of right backs for England, and I think as an all-rounder, including his defensive, he's as good as any of them.
Yeah.
Trent's always going to play because of his delivery and his threat, but I think that lad is second to me.
Yeah.
I think you've seen the end of Kyle Walker. He won't get his 50 caps, I don't think. Trippier is just that steady Eddie.
Yeah.
But so I think those two are certainly way above him, and then of course you've got Wan-Bissaka as well, but James to me is a much better player than him. And then there's the other lad, isn't there, at Leicester? Is he James as well? Justin.
Justin. He's
a bit younger, but he's decent as well, I think.
Yeah. Oh, is it at Leicester? I think he went on loan to Brighton. Is it Brighton?
I know he's El Nadi or whatever. Yeah, he's good as well. So
there's, like you said,
great strike though.
But yeah, we will go on to the one Jack really wants to talk about is how disappointing were Spurs.
How disappointed was it?
It was a strange non-entity game, and I want to throw this in the mix. Actually, let me hear what you're going to say about Spurs.
So I was really I'll be quite optimistic. Enjoyed watching the All or Nothing. I've always liked Mourinho, as people listen to this, I know that. I thought we'd done some decent business in the summer. Nothing massively exciting, but decent enough. Well, the 20 minutes, I'm still gutted. We played well for 20 minutes just before half time when we should have scored 2 goals. They missed an open goal.
Chelsea
before that.
Criminal.
But we should have scored. I mean, Sonny should have played Kane in and plays Dele Alli in, who could save from Pickford, and then Kane plays Doherty in, another good save from Pickford. And I was really optimistic. I thought, do you know what? That sort of settled them down. We'll come out second half. First of all, I cannot believe the substitution he made in Delhi. For me, him and Doherty were the best players in the first half. That was that. His explanation for that confused me a little bit afterwards, but confused me more that he brought Sissoko on to play to sort of break the line, so to speak, and then played him wide right. And anyway, the goal was fair header. I don't think people look at the centre halves, and I wouldn't disagree, but for some time, a bit like the first Liverpool goal, let's give the attackers a bit of... It was a hell of a ball from Digne, and what a header. I don't rate the lad Calvert-Lewin particularly highly, but what a header. But from that point on, Tottenham were absolutely abysmal, and the worst 40 minutes, even during the last season, was abysmal for it. Was dreadful.
There was no life in you, no life,
Nothing,
no soul, no fight. And And we'll talk about this, and this is the one I really want to talk about, is Højbjerg was brought in to give you a bit of steel. Now, you often say to me, and this is the conversation we had, was Liverpool were never going to win the league with James Milner at left back.
Yep.
You needed a good left back, you went out, you got Robinson, and now look at the state of you. You've got a back four there of really strong. Are Spurs ever going to be winning the league signing people like Højbjerg?
No, and I don't think, I know I said on this programme, I'll back them because of my team that will get top four. I don't think we're going to get top four with a player like that, particularly if you're playing him alongside wings or any of the other centre midfield players who are all very similar. If he plays as what they call a pivot or whatever, the quarterback role, and he's got people in front of him so he can really break up and he can pass forward, then maybe so, because he's fit, he's energetic and he's young and he likes to tackle. So he's a Mourinho type player. But no, I absolutely take your point.
I'm going to ask you a question now, yes or no answer. Are Everton a bigger club than Spurs?
No.
Why are they signing James Rodriguez and Allen from Napoli?
Well, the Ancelotti effect, isn't it?
Is Mourinho not as big as Ancelotti?
Yes, but he obviously had other lines in the fire, Stu, didn't he?
Are you disillusioned? Are you not?
No, I'm not.
Are Spurs going to swap places with Everton this year? Are Everton going to be the sixth best team in the Premier League?
No, they're not, because they've still got more holes to plug than me for me. Look, what have I always said to you? Don't get too high. Don't get too low.
Well,
I was gutted, and I still am, and I'm really nervous about tonight's Europa League. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm really nervous about it because, well, if we play anything as bad as we did on Sunday, for the large majority of the game, we will lose, and the Europa campaign's on to some side in Bulgaria that never heard of.
We're going to talk about contracts, the two ones that have just been signed recently. Interesting, because I think you'd take Grealish now if you were offered him.
Yeah, we could have him for about 5 million.
Well, the funny thing was, if you played him in the middle of the park, and Grealish, I think he's a bit like, you used to talk about Hamilton Marmite, where you either think he's a really good player, you think, oh, he doesn't do enough for me, but when he plays for England, he holds the ball, he draws people out of position to either create a foul or create a space.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that Tottenham need now, they need somebody to get hold of the ball in that final third, to then allow people to run around them, to create the space, and then find that ball through. So Grealish has just signed a new contract for Villa, which I think you would bite somebody's left hand off right now to take him.
Yeah, and I take your point, I love it, I hate him. It's the same a bit with Dele, I guess. People love him or hate him. And they're both young and they're both really good players. And that's my point. Maybe those two types of players around Højbjerg or around wings with the front players that we've got, it's a different dynamic. And Lo Celso falls into that similar kind of category. But yeah, I think so. And the same with, Arsenal done a good job getting at Aubameyang.
I think that's as good. That is as good as the signing you're going to get. You know, to tie him up for the next X amount of years is basically you've just now signed a new player.
And for both of them as well, it's actually money in the bank, because if things don't go quite so well at either club, they're going to have to take top books to prize them away.
Yeah, well, Aubameyang's 31 now, so he's got that contract going to see him through for the next few years.
Past it, though, isn't he? 31 years old, past it.
This leads nicely on to the same people that are bigging up Aubameyang transfer were then calling Spurs out for Gareth Bale.
It's all past it. Now, let me quantify this. That is true. People are calling it out. They're both the same age at 31. I take the point that Bale's not playing a lot of football over the last, since that Champions League final against you boys. Yeah, he's not played a lot of football. When the last game he played properly, he changed the game or whatever. I take the point, and he's clearly, if he signs it, it looks, and I'm touching everything here, everything, it looks like he's going to get over the line in a loan deal or whatever it might be. Of course he's going to have to get up to speed. I think he's kind of a bit of a knock from the Wales games as well, so take your point, bad people, but he's 31 years old, the same age as Aubameyang.
But is he going to change the dynamic at Spurs? And the other question is, you can answer that in a second, the other question is he going to stay injury free enough to have that impact?
I don't know. So will he change the dynamic? I don't think so. I think the dressing room's crying out for some superstar. I think Harry Kane is crying out for a superstar, just so he can probably just step back a little bit, because you know what happens when all last season and even already, and to be fair, I wouldn't blame him at the minute, is as soon as Spurs aren't winning games or playing badly, Kane's going. So I think it would do him a bit of good. I think he fits into the system. He'll play wide right, coming on his left foot with Son on the other side. He can play up the middle. He can play in a 10 role. He can probably even play a bit deeper. You know, I don't know. But yeah, all those things are valid. But you know, isn't that the same? You can sign a 25-year-old, the best player in the world, and he gets a bad injury first game.
Yeah, but I think Bell's got that risk, hasn't he?
Of course he has. Yeah.
I think it's a lot with a lot of the speedsters. There's a lot
get those muscle injuries.
Yeah, they do pick up a lot. But interesting, just confirmed in the last hour, Thiago's now signed for Liverpool.
Yeah, 25 minutes. That's a decent
great signing.
Doesn't surprise me that he's waited a bit and decided to make that sign. Because he's 29 as well, isn't he? So he's no young pup.
No, but I think what he'll do is the last games I've been watching when he played against PSG and the semi-final games against Chelsea, he's just literally running the show for them. So much sharper, and then with him being that because he was touted when he came on the scene as being this next wonder kid, and kind of never potentially reached them heights, but he's so consistent now that I think it's a really good spot, and that gives us that little bit more of a dynamic midfielder. It's not, he'll work hard, but then he adds that quality I think Wijnaldum has, you know, that little bit of guile, and he can drop a shoulder
probably
here.
A better player than Wijnaldum, I'll say what I've seen of him. And of course, because they're not going to get as many games out of Milner and people like that, are they? And like you talk about injuries, Henderson's sort of suffered with a bit of injury over the last year or so as well, hasn't he? So it's all about, all these sides are going to play so much football in a short space of time that the squads and the way the managers rotate them is really, really key for me. And of course Spurs have signed the left back who looks like he's going to come, who I've never heard of. I think he was at Sevilla, had gone on loan there, come back to Madrid. Harry says that he's quick on FIFA, so that's
all
we know about him.
That was my lad's version. What's it like on FIFA? He's fast.
So that'll do me. He's fast.
There we go.
Crack on.
But it's interesting that I saw this little video taking the mick out of Solskjaer, that when a club's been interested in a player, United then suddenly get linked with them, and then they go with the other team. So it was like Bale was mentioned, is it? United coming in for him, now Bale's going to sign for Spurs. Liverpool linked with Thiago, United come in, Liverpool sign him. The left back, they linked with, and it seems to be every player that United are kind of linked with, it means it's pushed the other way for the other team.
It's interesting because I know one or two people, even Man United fans I spoke to, one or two people around, you know, talking about it. They've always said, you know, he's done a good job in that, but has he got the pulling power to attract? Because, you know, Man United aren't the ones at the minute where you can guarantee a trophy for a player like they were under Ferguson, etc. Like, you know, probably a Liverpool and a Man City certainly can guarantee a trophy or a good run in a side, put it that way. Is it that? Has he not got enough pull? We talk about Ancelotti and Mourinho and people like that.
I think it's because it's potentially his character, and then you look at all his previous clubs. It was like Cardiff and was it Mould? Which he never really lit the world with. So very, very average with regards to what he's done. Obviously, I'd say he's done an okay job at the moment. You know,
I think so.
But it'd be interesting. I'm interested to see how Fernandes does now that teams will work out and they'll put somebody on him. How good is he actually going to be? But yeah, it's an interesting time. So transfers come in and go in, and it'll be interesting now. Obviously, it won't impact this weekend, but the following weekend, if we see Bale and Thiago make their debuts,
So and obviously some more mouth-watering fixtures this week.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your fixture of the week, Stu?
Liverpool, Chelsea, or Chelsea. Well, at Chelsea. So I don't think really you've got Man City, Wolves as your other big one.
You're not getting, because Chelsea. We've talked about it. 3-1 win away this week. Apparently they weren't brilliant. I didn't watch it, but they've certainly bought to really challenge the top two. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So I think that's a big test for them. So on Saturday there's a handful of games, but I think the majority of games are played on the Sunday. So Saturday is Everton West Brom. I'm thinking Everton went there. Leeds Fulham's Leeds. United Palace. You've got to go home here. I think it's going to be a home across the board. United to beat Palace. Arsenal to beat West Ham. So I'd go home bankers on that one. Then it's Southampton Spurs, which is an interesting game because they don't play that bad of football, Southampton. And I would have said for the first 20-30 minutes of the Palace game, they were the better team, but just didn't score when it needed to.
So depending on that, I thought Tottenham's start was decent. I always thought Everton at home would be tricky, but then after I got Southampton, it looked decent. 7 games on paper. That's like massive already.
Yeah, that's a real banana skin there for you. Newcastle Brighton, Newcastle making a great start. You go Newcastle. This is the one. This is to see where Chelsea lie.
Would you take a point there, Liverpool now?
I would say that Chelsea become more of a threat as the season goes on. I'd just question mark how much he's had the team together to play. You know, like, are they reading Werner's runs? Are they getting on the end of it? Is Ziyech being able to get onto the ball enough? Is Havertz having the impact that he knows now the system? Because you've got to remember that they're coming into to a new league now, and they're going to come up against Liverpool, and Havertz in the middle and Ziyech if he plays. They're not going to get the time. They're just going to get literally hounded. Henderson's just going to run in and kick. Wijnaldum's going to be in there. Fabinho's going to be in there. Chiesa if he plays, they're going to be in the faces. So I think as a Chelsea fan, if I was sat there as a Chelsea fan, I'd be saying, I'd love to play it maybe about 2 months down the line. You know, when we've had a few games in our belt, we've
a bit more games.
So I'm going to go with Liverpool win. Not because it is because I'm a massive Liverpool fan, but I just think that it's come a little bit too early for Chelsea. And then Leicester-Burnley, which Burnley are a strange team. Just when you think, that'll be a Leicester game, Burnley just
their first game of the season, they signed nobody.
Yeah,
Leicester for me. That.
Yeah, and then on the Monday night is 2 big games: Villa, Sheffield United, which is definitely, thankfully, it's not a late one because you're not staying up for that one.
No.
That's a late one. But Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Man City, which is an intriguing one because Wolves have lost the right back, but everybody else has stayed.
Yeah.
So
decent.
They've done well to keep on Traore.
When we say a late one, it's because we're 3 hours out here, so that 8:15 kick-off.
8:15 is not too bad. It's the one, like, when you sat watching all the games, they're all not too bad. Is that the UK time?
That's UK time there.
Alright, so we're going to add 3 hours.
So that's 11:15 kick-off time here, and we're in work for 7:15.
Yeah, so it's an early rise.
It's a killer.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. So we'll see what happens on that front. But we'll move on from that. We'll go a little bit about Women's Super League, Jack.
Yeah, I've just noticed actually over time we've talked about. I think you said, Stu, a few weeks back that I did opportunity when that Women's Super League came back to get it free to air and things like that, and I just noticed that all of a sudden there's some big names coming back to British or Women's English Super League football. So
there's absolute massive names coming back.
Unbelievable. I mean, top obviously Spurs women are worse than the men's team. Okay, so they're not. I don't even think. I think they are in the Super League, but they're not one of the top sides. They're not one of the top sides. And they've managed to capture World Cup winner Alex Morgan.
I tell you what's funny, because people went away, Jack was dead excited, texted me saying Spurs have signed a striker. Spurs have like, they have not, and then he was like, Alex Morgan. I was like, the women's team.
Absolute world class
player. Yeah.
So they've got her on loan till I think December, because then obviously the American League starts. But that sort of topped it off, and I'm not going to say I'm a connoisseur of women's football, but I know these names. You know, Lucy Bronze, the right back for the English right back's coming back to Man City from Lyon, where she's won 4 Champions Leagues or whatever.
Surprised Lyon are like the top team,
because they've also Alex Greenwood has got from Lyon to Man City, but she's a former Man United player, so there's no loyalty in the women's game, is there?
No.
I love it. And then Everton have signed a striker from Montpellier, who's Valérie Gouvin, the French striker. Do you like that?
Oh, nice. Is that because you're sharing the office with Harry? You've learned how to.
Yeah, she's a linguist. Yes, but you know, I've got a French A level.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, Monsieur Booth.
Well,
there we go. So they've signed her, and then the other interesting one was Man United have signed Tobin Heath, who's a 2 times World Cup winner with America and double Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
And there's more on the list.
I
just think it's really good to see that English women's football is obviously growing.
Well, the good thing about that is that you've got a lot of, obviously not English players that are playing in that division, but a lot of players that are going to step up and start playing in that league, which will hopefully have the positive effect of bringing the standard up, and then English players only benefit from that. So the young and up and coming women coming through the game, we'll see the likes of Alex Morgan running and making them runs, and then they will hopefully follow her pathway, and then we end up with better players.
Because I know Phil Neville's done a reasonably good job with the England side, but I think he's been I think watching them play, he's tried to get them to play like a men's team and at high, and I don't think the England team technically are quite ready for that. So he's taken to a degree, and obviously they're bringing in the American coach on there as well. I think eventually next year. So really good to see though that actually the Women's Super League is getting some exposure, some good signings, and I'm looking forward to watching Alex Morgan play, quite frankly, when I go back at Christmas.
Yeah. I'd like to say I'd like to go and watch Liverpool play, but we got relegated last year, so it's a bit of a bad thing.
So,
but
Spurs.
Yeah. Let's talk about last night's telephone conversation. So I'm on my way back from training last night, so I decided to give Jack a quick call. He said, oh yeah, I'm just watching the cricket now. Aussies at 88 for 5. They've got to get over 300. It's in the bag, Stu. I'm like, oh right, yeah. And what happened?
Lost. Unbelievable. I mean, so we'll go with that too first. Obviously, it ended up losing, so 88 for 5. Got Carey out. Good catch at third man by Rash off Jofra, and then all of a sudden there's a no ball. He was on 9, he ended up with 100. Maxwell was dropped, difficult chance caught behind by Butler on 40, went on to get 100. And then, but it twists and says, I wanted to go to bed because it was late, it's getting past 11. I just watched another couple of overs because it looked like Aussies were going to then, the massive partnership 200, looks like they were going to cruise it there. I'll just watch it until they need 20 to win or something, and then I'll go to bed. Anyway, I ended up watching all. The last over needed 11. And I'm not going to criticise Owen Morgan.
But you're about to.
What I'm going to do. Because you can't criticise a bloke who's transformed English white ball cricket. I actually believe he should be the Test match captain. I said that when Joe Root was appointed. He's good enough to play bat at 6 or 7 when they've been messing about with other people batting down there. And he gets the best out of the players. But I just thought he got it a bit wrong last night. He brought Root on early and got 2 wickets, which was class, and Root was bowling wonderfully. But Maxwell got hold of him a couple of times. I felt he bowled him 1, maybe 2 overs too many. And then last night, he's brave. He brought Rash back when the game was dead, got Maxwell out. We then got another wicket, so he had 11 off the last over. And he bowled Rash. And if Rash had been bowling well, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But he hadn't bowled well all night. And he sort of got it wrong.
First of all, he got whacked for 6.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Stark's not picked the googling. He's just swung, and he's swung well, and it's gone away. And then once you hit 6 first ball in 11, it's game over. So I think he got it slightly wrong last night, but hey ho. But what I wanted to say really was that what are some of cricket considering international cricket, considering it looked like even weeks before that due to start that we weren't going to get any. We've had 18 international games, some really top quality cricket.
Well, did I read right that it was the first ODI series they've lost in?
So the first ODI series lost at home since 2015.
5 years?
Yeah, 5 6 years.
Wow.
So, but they're still number 1 in the world. They're still the world champions. They're still at the top of this one-day ladder. It's just disappointing to lose to the Aussies, isn't it?
Oh, massively, especially in a friendly game.
Yeah. Anyway, move on. Anyway, talking of friendly games. But the season's not over. The cricket season is not over because the women's international start next week. They've been in bubbles in Derby for. The women have been in that bubble for about 3 months.
It seems to feel like since lockdown they've just popped them in a bubble. And that's
because they've had sides drop out. So the West Indies have come to the rescue. So I think they play 3 or 5 T20s starting next week, which is really good for them. And there's still some domestic cricket to finish with the T20 Blast final taking place on the first weekend in October.
How exciting.
So,
have they got any plans to try and get any crowds back in? I know they're starting it with the football, aren't they?
They've had crowds in for some Blast games and some Kent Championship games, like 1,000 or 2,000.
Because they've got it with a handful of Championship games. There's three Championship games this weekend that are going to have 1,000 people there, which is good news, but it is interesting because I remember that you have to apply to the AFA. But if your area, your city or your town is currently with high numbers and they've not been doing lockdown procedures properly, then your application didn't get, which is interesting, and it's also a little bit of a carrot.
I was going to say, that's clever, isn't it?
So Preston, you've got no chance of watching any games soon because there's too many numpties running around having parties.
And of course my cricket season's sort of not really stuttered since you called me out last week.
Yeah.
Not trained, no games, no training this week because those IPL players are in charge, and I saw a picture the other night, I tagged a couple of lads in Lovers and my old man, there's Coley and AB on my home patch. What they're doing?
Yeah, well, we need to venture out there at some point and see if we
can get
just ruffle a few feathers.
Yeah, see if we can get a game, have a goal in it.
I can just throw some stuff at him and see what happens. Get a football out and laughing.
Get off my pitch.
Yeah. Right, back onto football. Fancy football started.
Oh, the sport you.
I tell you what, I'm going to say this now to the camera is I don't understand why I've got no points. My squad: Leno in goal, big player. Alexander Arnold, big fancy football player. Gomez, hit and miss, doesn't really go for corners, but thinking clean sheets. Then I've gone and wazzed in my team. Traore, De Bruyne,
He's not played yet, to be fair.
No. Who was my other big midfielder? Oh, Aubameyang, who was in midfield. And then I've got Werner and Kane in there. Like, they're big name players.
Kane didn't get a touch in the box. So.
And I've got, are there any points? I'm like...
Yeah, I think I did sneak ahead of you because I had Jorginho took that penalty away.
This is the frustrating bit, is that I did go for Jorg at one point.
80th.
Oh no, I'm gonna start from the bottom. Let's start from the bottom.
Yeah, I was going to say I wanted to call one or two people out, mate. Yeah, we've got 100 and... How many have we got in? We're just looking now on the screen.
111 people in there.
Unbelievable. And my dad
is
the football expert, the former non-league manager.
Yeah, is currently out of 111, 110th.
With 18, and he keeps messaging me going, I don't know how to do this, what button do I need to press, what does this bench boost do?
Yeah, I tell you the other one funny was Matt Aldred, I'm going to call him out as well, gives it the big one going, oh, Jane's going to enter this, she's really good at this, she studies the form, and she is currently in 105th place.
Yeah, and I'm just going to call two more as we see there. I didn't mention Johnny Underhill, but Jottingham Hotspurs, Johnny, they'll come good, mate. You know we will. But he actually said to me 3 weeks ago, he said he'd done the algorithm, he'd done the maths, he's a mathematician. He spoke to Daniel Levy, he knew Bale was coming.
What did it?
He knew it, Mystic Meg.
Okay, right, but he's saying we didn't see what scores and points were going to happen this week because he's only got 25.
Henry.
I tell you, it makes me laugh is Henry. Henry gives it the Henry Grant, big time Charlie on Twitter all the time. Currently got 27 points in 103rd place. Yeah, so what did he have to wear a Spurs shirt, doesn't he?
Yeah, remember he has to wear, that was the thing, didn't it?
Just let us know what size you are again, Henry. Yeah. But yeah, it's we'll skip past mine.
80th, she's 80th.
80th. I can't believe I'm 80th with that squad.
So you keep going.
Oh, Big Lefty was there. I'm just saying him. He was Big Lefty 61st.
Big Lefty.
It was one of them. If you had Salah as captain, you absolutely milked it.
Let's go to the top, I think. And I'm going to give a shout out to an egg chaser.
Yeah. Well, we'll call out the top 5.
All right, let's go.
We'll give the top 5.
This is the top 5 of them.
So your guns from Imal, whoever Imal is, but you're currently in 5th place, joint with Jim Darby, whose team is Derby County. Very good. Now this is the shock.
So
this is absolute shock. Jam SZN.
Well, I know what that's jam season.
Jam season.
Ian Larkin picked this team. I did the table Slam last week.
Egg chaser.
And when he picked it, he's going, this is a great side, this lad. He's got Patrick Bamford up front. I said, no, you're not doing. And he's 4th. He's got 88 points. He's an egg chaser.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for us more than anything else. In 3rd place is Demoni Wanderers. With Daryl Sims, our Wolves fan.
He by the way, he loves the Ruddy Red quizzes, doesn't he? In the comments.
Well, he's still got to pick up his voucher for the stay yet. He's not been to me. And then Boom Shakalaka, which is Jack Brown. Big things, good player, Jack.
Yeah.
Nice left peg, quite fast.
Not quite as quick as me.
Yeah. And then Dad Bod 86. So Paul Comer.
Yeah, Paul Comer, you are top.
You are top. So you have won the voucher for this week. So get in contact with us, and we'll arrange delivery of the voucher for you.
95 points, 2 points clear of Jack.
95 points is probably like 3 times more than I've got, and about 20 times more than your dad's got.
But as my dad said to me, it's a marathon, Jack.
Everybody that's losing says that. Everybody that loses says that. You've now got to make up like 70 points now after week 1. You can't afford another week like that, Shrek.
And George Hodson, who husband of one of our colleagues, he's studying the form. He wants that for lunch with me and you, Stu.
Yeah, that's all good.
He's been telling Harry all week, has all the games on 3 screens, he's proper into it.
But yeah, not in the top 5 yet.
He was going well and then dropped down, I think so. Anyway, good, keep going.
Right, we'll move you on to Jack's story.
Yeah, so actually I thought, because it's quite a football thing, I thought we would go football again, just because. And when I was a young lad, I used to help out at Boston United as a ball boy, because obviously normally a ball gets kicked in, you've got to go get it out people's back gardens and stuff like that. And we also, there was me, there was a couple of others, Nick Madison, and a lad called Paul Turner. We would have been probably from 12, 13 all the way to probably about when we were 15 or 16, we'd do it. And we used to clean boots. And you used to get like a couple of quid for cleaning boots and then spend it at the tuck shop. Brilliant. But what I remember was that Bosch United were managed at one point by Mel Sterling. former Leeds, Sheffield Wednesday, England right back, had a massive long photo. His nickname was Zico, actually after the Brazilian.
Nice.
So when he came, this was in the mid-90s, huge thing, player manager, brought a few big players with him. And the first game of the season was summer, and I wasn't playing senior cricket, so it would have been 12, 13 or whatever. And the ground, I'll always remember York Street, and this is a bit of an ode to York Street, because obviously that's been and gone, and the new ground's nearly there, and Boston start their new season in a few weeks' time. And it was opening day of the season, and I cleaned Mel's boots, and he gave me £2, £3. So I was all happy with this, Get my shoot magazine on the way home from the ground, you know.
How old were you? 21?
Yeah, last week. And anyway, and I always remember we were in the York Street end, and we were attacking the goal, and Sterling scores a late winner with a header, unbelievable header, and the crowd go absolutely wild, and the York Street is bouncing, and he comes and he goes all the way on the terrace, high-fiving everybody, like it's everybody pumping, and I don't know who we were playing. Sebastian Knight Stato was out, I will know. And the ground was pumping, and it was really good atmosphere. But after the game, we used to then get down the tunnel. It was the tunnel was like only about as wide as one person. We used to wait, us lads, near the dressing room, because we used to always have to make the tea for them at half time for the home and away side, and then put the sandwiches in after the game and stuff like that. And we're just waiting there.
And you only got £3 for all these jobs?
Oh wait, this is where it comes good.
Oh, right.
So this particular game comes in like that, and Mel Sterling gets us young lads in the dressing room. It's only first game of the season. He's like pumping like that. When I was in the spray and stuff everywhere, and we're cool. Tracksuits, it was class like that. After he said, "Hey, who cleaned my boots?" And I was like, "Oh, it was Jack. It was Jack." I was like, "Tenner."
Oh,
mate, I walked out there rich as anything.
Oh, chest out. The bottles of white landing on me tonight, boys.
Unbelievable. Let's get in that park, back at Chris, and a bottle of white lightning, and you never know what happens. Unbelievable. It's a really good memory. And one of the reasons it flicked us because in the week I watched, I don't know if you ever watched it, Stu, the film When Saturday Comes with Sean Bean.
Yes, Sean Bean, yeah.
Well, Mel Sterling is in that film.
Oh, is it?
Because the Boston United players were used as extras. So Mel Sterling is the captain at Sheffield United. You know, when he goes in and says, you best put that kit on, pal. And that's what I remember. So Mel Sterling, yeah.
Wow.
I've got another story about Mel, but off camera.
All right, well.
Off the pod. But yeah, that was it. So Boston United, and a quick shout out to one of my former students, Joe Bloom, who's a massive Boston United fan. He's given me a load of info about the new signings for when we do it. He said, "You're bound to do a preview about when Boston start, aren't you?"
Oh yeah, of course we are.
So I said, "Of course we are."
It's top of our list next week.
Yeah, but they don't start till October, so we're all right. We've got a few more. So yeah, but yeah, go to Pilgrims.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Jack. Right, so signing off again, another podcast done. If there's still people out there that have entered fantasy football and want to get involved, please check out our social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, we're on it. Look us up, find us, Sporting Jibberish. You can join the fantasy football, get involved in that aspect there.
Website coming soon as well.
Yeah. Have you told the wife she's doing that yet?
Just now.
Just now, right, okay. Is that why you're hiding here with me?
Yeah, we're staying here.
But yeah, good to get people involved. But again, we never take ourselves too seriously because...
What do we know?